processing around 1.3 billion emails per week. And then we're also detecting, multiple new types of emails, 150 odd million out there every week. Along with, we've got some other types of products that integrate nicely into email security, like the archiving emails in an immutable fashion, and then also doing backup for 365, your SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, to protect your organization against incidental deletion or malicious deletion. So of those cloud-hosted solutions, there is more of a security focused stance on that. With older solutions, you might have had a server inside your environment or inside your office that had a mail server on it, and then you use that. With the advent of Microsoft 365, it made it nice from an update standpoint. So Microsoft continually updating the 365 environment to make it far more secure. But then also the flip side of that is attackers are always trying to find holes inside that platform. When it could be the most, sorry, excuse me. Apologies for that. So cyber criminals, they're attacking those types of those email accounts via things like business email compromise or spear phishing attacks. So meaning that they are trying to impersonate a user inside your organization. There are a number of different types of spam. Barracuda have identified 13 different email threat types, going from spam, traditional spam. That's what we founded our organization on back 20 years ago, and then malware, meaning viruses and those things that are going to come into your network and offer a way for a bad actor to either gain data or to hear. You might have heard ransomware as a word, meaning that they're going to encrypt your data and then hold you to ransom to pay them something like a cryptocurrency to get your data back. Now, there's these other types of email threats: scamming, spear phishing, domain impersonation, all the way up to account takeover, which are the most complex. And the account takeover means that someone has got my credentials, usually by sending me an email, and that email has a link in it saying, "Hey, Mr. User or Mrs. User, I've got a link here to then go through and reset your password." You would be lured into clicking on that link and then therefore providing your credentials. But what that is just a web page that's collecting your credentials for a bad actor to use and then gain access into your mail account. So you can see that email threats have, they've gone from just the standard, oh, I don't really want this type of email, to gaining control to your organization and therefore your data inside your organization. Talking about the business email compromise, you can see at the top here, we've got a sample of one where it's coming from a Gmail account. Now, Gmail is a reputable source. I'm sure there's a number of people on this call that have a Gmail account. And what bad actors will do is they'll create the Gmail account as maybe the business owner. And so the business owner's name will appear to the people that are receiving it, but it's coming from a Gmail account. And the thing with Gmail accounts is they're reputable. Like the actual service is used by millions upon millions of people every day. And we obviously don't want to disrupt the Gmail service back into your organization, because there might be some customers of yours that only use Gmail to converse with you. So we need to look at multiple things, such as the name, the sentiment. It could be like just a simple request for a direct deposit, and that it's from a known contact. Inside business email compromise type attacks, we saw in ACCC Scamwatch and the annual cyber report for 2021. So these are relative to Australian businesses. That there was a total of $128 million worth of losses to customers or to companies in Australia.
That's only reported as well.
It is, exactly. So it's not required of a customer to, or a business owner to report this. So there would be lots of different types, no matter how small or big this value is. So it could be 10 grand, right? But 10 grand could be a significant number to a business where that could be resulting in employees not being paid that week. But yeah, you could see the average there is around 50K, which is a scary number. What I've also seen is in the case of business email compromise, the attacker has access to your account, so they can see your bank statements if you've been sending those to and from, using your email account or using your OneDrive to store your bank statements in there. So they all know exactly how much to extort from you because they know how much is in your bank account effectively. Any extra things on that there, Mark? Have you seen anything to a similar stance?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of clients where, well, we've actually seen some clients where when they've actually been attacked, they've actually gone through their emails, gone through their folders, etc. A new client that came to us when they had a problem was their credit card was actually being abused, and they said, "How do they get my credit card?" I had access to their mailbox, and I just said, "Is it a Visa card?" And they went, "Yeah." So I just searched for 4564, found credit cards. So this is not a situation where it's, and a lot of people think that I'm not going to get targeted. Why would they want to attack me? What we're finding is these are just random attacks, and then people are providing that information out, and that's how they're getting attacked. So
yeah. I also remember seeing there was a breakdown of these business email compromise scams, and they segmented them into 0 to 4 employees and then 5 to 10 and so on and so forth. The most amount of losses were from 0 to 10, 20 employees in the organization. But actually, when you go into hundreds of employees, they have these types of systems in place. So they're still going for a company that might be 2 or 3 employees total. So that's why it's imperative to have a solution, no matter the size, because the value to them is great. 50 grand in one day is a good return, especially if you're on the other side of the world and you've got a family to feed. Generally, these people are doing it out of necessity, which is unfortunate for them and also for us. But we need to protect ourselves against this type of attack. Now, there's this thing called a zero-day attack. What a zero-day attack is, a hacker discovers like a vulnerability in, say, maybe your application or inside your network. This vulnerability would be sent out to you in an email. And then from there, they would have what's called a foothold. So they send you a link, that would have a particular payload in it. So like maybe a file, and then that file then gives them access to getting into your organization. So we need to identify these as quickly as possible, and then put in place a signature that then stops those types of attacks coming through. So I think on the next slide, we talk about, we talk about this type of email. So you would see this type of email where it's appearing to be Microsoft Office, but you can see the impersonation tactic is what is said here is it's no reply at excel.delivery. So Microsoft are never going to send an email from excel.delivery. This is a domain that has been registered, or they call it spoofed. So they're just appearing to be that, to then mislead the end user to think it's Microsoft when it actually isn't. And then when you click on this link, you've got a malware that will infect your machine, and then do sort of like encryption of your files, so you can't actually open them again, unless you either pay a ransom or restore from a backup. The solution to that is a threat intelligence network, and then also sandboxing. So in the case of it coming through email, the scanners, they'll open it up and appear to be your desktop before it's even got to you. So then you can understand what they're doing. Are they trying to steal your credentials from your Windows machine? Are they trying to encrypt your network, as I'd mentioned before? And then that would then be detonated in place, and you would just never ever see that threat ever get through. Now, talking about threat prevention. So when an email comes through, it comes from from the internet. The internet is going to be where it's going to traverse from. So it could be a legitimate customer, could be a bad actor. The email comes through and then gets scanned for malware and those 0-day threats that we were talking about. And then it gets handed to the email server here. What a lot of traditional gateways will do is scan for the files, the links that are inside. But if we saw before in the business email compromise, there was just a simple sentiment. And that simple sentiment was, do you have a moment to update your account details? That's where you would be able, you're going to be protecting the mailbox itself. So with the advent of Microsoft 365, there's these things called APIs, and just allows us to connect to your mailbox and understand the sending and receiving habits of each individual. Now, it comes to the fact of looking at existing relationships, email addresses that have been used, the documents that you're using, maybe the actual location you're logging in from. So then we can understand the anomalies, and those anomalies are then mitigated and deleted from your mailbox. So you'll just never ever see that impersonation attempt, or it's called a business email compromise attempt. There is also some things like end user awareness training that can be integrated into your environment as well, along with extensive threat hunting. So maybe one day, if I show you this here, we can look through your 365 tenant for typical keywords. For instance, there might be an invoice that had been incorrectly sent to every single person inside your organization, or a payslip. This gives you the power to go through and Sterling IT the power to then search for particular keywords or email addresses that have been used for either nefarious purposes. So there might be a rogue employee inside your organization that has sent out an all staff email. I've heard of that before, or that sort of payslip type scenario. Mark, do you have circumstances of this type of internal attack?
With the what you call it, fake names, absolutely. It happens all the time. We see it mainly in real estate companies. The reason for that is because we've always told clients, do not post information on websites that is identifiable, e.g. person's names, titles, email addresses, and phone numbers. And what we find is with real estate agents, they're big culprits for that, because that's just what they do in the industry. And what they find out is and I'm sorry because there is a real estate company in this chat as well. And what they'll do is they will basically look at who the CFO is, who the managing director is, who the managers are, and they will create fake emails with a Gmail and then create those attacks internally. And a lot of programs, a lot of people will pay phishing and spoofing type of information out. So yeah, a lot of people have lost money in that respect as well.
Yeah, the other one is, they'll ask for iTunes cards to be sent to a particular address so that they can extort money out of that way as well. They're the other types of things that I've seen. Also, with the fact that we've got 200,000 plus customers, we have a threat intelligence network that gives insights to Sterling IT to then go through and look at things that might be a post-delivery threat. So what a bad actor could do is they could have a link in an email, and they've weaponized it post-delivery. This gives Sterling IT the power to then bring that email back and delete it from your mailbox without any human intervention. What might also happen is you would get an alert, maybe at the end of the day, and so everyone has gone home by that stage. Everyone's sort of commuting back home. Sterling IT would be able to remediate that email without even having to get someone to log in and gain access. So it's a very powerful utility there to help safeguard your organization. We've also got an automated workflow process for this, which is really nice. If there's end user reported emails, we can set up some nice automatic remediation with Sterling IT in that vein. The other thing that we'd like to touch on as well, so part of 365, it's not just protecting it at the email level, it's also backing it up. With backups, people kind of assume that Microsoft are going to be backing up everything, and then because it's in the cloud, it's a set and forget type of a situation. Mark, do you have a comment there? Or?
Yeah, no, that's all good. I was just
good.
Sorry, I just had to reply because there's somebody trying to get in, and he's saying the link's not working. I'm going, yeah, the link's working. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, so Barracuda, as part of the email stack, have a backup solution to protect your files and folders from that incidental or malicious deletion, or say there was an encryption event. We would protect your data with inside Barracuda's cloud. For all the major avenues that you would be corresponding on or collaborating on. Teams, SharePoint. Teams is used more and more over the last 2 years. The uptick of Teams, I think at the start of 2020 was thousands of percent every day. It was just a huge digital transformation for obvious reasons. Now, those
could I just make a comment on that too? Sorry.
Yeah.
With the backup of email, there's a lot of perception around, because my email is based in the cloud and because it's with Microsoft, my email is protected and it is backed up. All cloud providers, except for one, which is an accounting system, do not provide backup solutions out of the box for data that is stored in the cloud. All Microsoft provide is, in the case of a complete system failure, they replicate the data across. However, in the case of data being deleted, ransomware, things like that, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they do not back up your data. So what we do is, working with Barracuda, the solution is not just an anti-spam and mail protection, but when we talk about mail protection, it's also about the sovereignty of that data, and that's the backups and the archival of that data as well. And we'll talk a bit more about archival a bit later. But a lot of people just have a perception that email's fine, it's okay, I've got it stored on my computer. But if a hacker was to get into your system, they ransomwared all your email or encrypted all your email, and it's 100% possible. We've actually seen this happen through some other seminars. You need to resort back to a backup, and Microsoft will not roll back your mailbox. There is no snapshots. If you delete an email, they hold it for 14 days, up to 30 days, depending on the setup. But after that, the data is gone forever. So it's really, really, really important that it's not just about email protection in the respect of spam and phishing and those type of things, but it's also important in relation to backup and archival as well. So
yeah, 100%.
Perception's a big thing with cloud solutions today.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing with the cloud backup is we have unlimited storage as well. So it doesn't matter how big your organization gets or expands, it's just a per user cost. So you have some real, you know exactly what you're going to get. The final piece to that is Data Inspector. So Data Inspector will look at personally identifiable information. So, for instance, if I've taken a screenshot of my phone, that has my Service New South Wales app on it, and then I've stored it in my OneDrive, Data Inspector detects that and then alerts the end user and the admin, and it also obfuscates that license number from view. And so the end user is able to clean that up. We won't delete any of the data. We'll just identify that for you. Now, it could be that, or it could be something like a credit card number that we were talking about before. If a bad actor has access to your account, they have access to the credit card numbers of yourself and maybe a bit more worse than that, your customer base. So protecting that data and storing, credit cards in the appropriate way would be, a conversation that you'd have to have with Mark and the Sterling IT team. But yeah, we can identify that to avoid the risk to the business. To Mark's point before, obviously data is at risk. If you go through and Google the Microsoft Service Level Agreement, they actually say this in 6B of the agreement. Regularly back up your data and use a third-party app or service because they do not guarantee the data if there's any loss or disruption. So if Microsoft has a failure and it somehow corrupts your mail, they've put their hands up in the air and said you need to have a backup to restore from. Because they offer a really great service, really highly resilient, but there's no backup piece in there. So definitely something to keep in mind. Mark, did you want to go through and talk about the archiver?
Yep, sure. So with the archiver, I'll just share my screen.
I've just stopped share now. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we've got you there.
See my archiver?
Yep.
Yep, beautiful. Okay, so within the Barracuda suite of products, there's a product called the archiver. Where this comes in really, really handy is if you've accidentally lost a message, deleted a message, and then realized 6, 12 to 5 years later, obviously this starts from the day that it's installed. But what will basically happen is it will allow you to go and search for a keyword or an email message on a particular day or any search criteria you'd like. We've been using Barracuda a while ourselves, and if you type in a keyword, it will go through, search millions of messages and restore those back in a very short amount of time. Where this comes in handy is if you're working on a project, for example, you could be a builder, you could be a solicitor. A lot of the times you will have a reference number within the subject or even within the email body itself. You can actually do a global search and it will bring up every single message that is related to that case. So let's say hypothetically, I'm a builder, I'm building a property, it's got to go to court, and there's been 55 people delivering emails back and forth, and half those people over that 2 or 3 year build may have actually left the organization, may have even deleted their emails because they've left on bad terms. So this is going to court, or a manager just wants to see the correspondence, or there was a promise to somebody that again, from somebody has left the organization. Using the archiver, you can actually search for those emails very quickly and then export them, print them, restore them, or even resend them. So I'll just give you an example. If I was to just search for Barracuda as an example, every email with Barracuda in it is going to come up, and we're talking millions of emails. And as you see, it's only going to take a few seconds. Okay, and we've got them all there. So as you can see there, I can scroll down all here. Basically, there's pages and pages and pages of emails to do with Barracuda.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to have a look at one of these, so I'm just going to, I'll just pick up.
I can see top right there.
Yeah.
There's 17,000 emails total.
We can actually see the actual email if we wanted to preview it. Okay. But the other things are I can export the message. Okay. I can come here and say export all messages, do a report. But the other things you can do is just resend the messages to certain people. So I can say resend to me. Like I said, you've got the different tools to do exports to export all messages or selected messages. And like I said, there are pages of emails that are in here to do with just the word Barracuda. Okay. There's also PSTs. You can actually export these to a PST, so therefore you can actually just load them up on anybody's Outlook without physically restoring them to a mailbox. So again, if you wanted to export the emails into a single file and then be able to open them up on one or multiple Outlook accounts, you can do that as well very, very easily. But as you see, you know, we've got thousands of emails here that we can restore very, very quickly and easily using the archiver.
The other thing with the PSTs is, say you've got a server or you've exported your own mail to a PST and you've archived it off, which you've just put that into another file. That file can be uploaded to here, so you have every single mail message no matter what. So just one thing to keep in mind, you know, it's a free charge to then upload PSTs in here. If you have them just laying around on a USB drive or USB hard drive, that can be easily uploaded to keep everything in a central location.
Yep. And if there is something that you're searching quite regularly on, you can actually create a search and then save that as well. So the advantage to that is you're not having to go in here and then actually specify, for example, you say doesn't contain something, you know, you can basically go through and create a very elaborate search. So I can say I want it from an email, subject, body, blah, 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 put all these in here and hit save search. That's a very, very specific search. So rather than having to redo this every single time, you can create basically a filter and save that. So when you want to go and search for something on a regular basis, you can actually do that quite easily as well. The archiver is very, very, we've got a very large multinational car dealer, manufacturer, if you want to put it, who use the Barracuda products. We actually sold them the Barracuda products for the whole of Australia, and they utilize it quite deeply in the respect of they set their user mailboxes to 2 gigabytes. That's all. And everything that they want to search for comes out of Archiver, because they've actually found that Archiver, because we can actually run an application on the actual user's mailbox on their Outlook, and you can search from your actual Outlook. You don't need to. Right now, I'm actually in the admin back end, but as a user, you would actually open up Outlook and you could actually do an archival search. Now, we don't do that ourselves because we don't need to, but because they have a lot of email and they've got email going back, 15, 20 years for the whole company, because they've been using it from the old Barracuda physical appliance and they've moved into the cloud product about 2 years ago, utilizing this. So they've injected millions of emails over the last 20 years into the Barracuda system. So actually, Matt, do you have Archiver on your Outlook by any chance?
Yeah, let me see if I'm actually logged on. I'll be 1 second. I'm pretty sure I logged on the other day, so I should be good. Be 1 sec. 1 second.
If anybody's got any questions on the archive, please just go to chat and send through, and we'll respond.
Yeah, the other good point about the search is that we're able to create a saved search. That saved search can be applied to an auditor. So if you had like an external auditor that had wanted separate access for a particular litigation tax reason, you could craft them a search through a particular type of email, and then that can be applied to their account. So they only see those emails. So great in terms of giving third parties access. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, let me share that. Should be this one. There we go. So this is what it would look like. I've looked up Matt /golf in this particular case, so I can search by date before and after. If I go through to something, so yeah, in terms of golf, maybe if I type in PDF, look. Yeah, so this is going to be interacting with my own Barracuda search as well, so I can then see this from inside my own organization. Now, that will be exactly that. So yeah, you can see here in this case. So back in 2019, this is when I first started with Barracuda. I went to Ottawa and Boston. This was back when we could travel nice and easily. But then I can open up that particular email. It's going to then grab that email for me and then present it to me. You can see I've just double clicked on it. Now I typed in golf, right? And so golf is actually in this PDF from memory. So you can see here, if I type in golf, so it's actually searched into the PDF as well, inside an attachment, which is really, really powerful for doing those types of searches around tenders and, as you mentioned, those building type circumstances. There might be a series of PDFs that you need access to, but then inside the actual email itself, there's no reference to golf in here, I'm very sure. Yeah, nothing at all. So, super powerful tool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, any questions, guys? Feel free. We should be able to unmute you. I'm just gonna. Yeah, I've just allowed microphones on most people here. But, feel free to unmute yourself and yeah, ask away. Or forever hold your peace. There's also, I think Mark wants to announce something as well. There's a bit of a sort of a door prize. Yeah, I'll let you.
Yeah, for all attendees, we're going to be doing a $50 lucky door prize. So we use an application that's online, which you just enter names and it does a random spinning wheel, and we'll basically pick one of the attendees out today, excluding staff members and Barracuda staff. So all customers and guests will go into that draw, and we'll announce that on Monday who wins the $50 Visa card.
Beautiful.
Can we quarantine email notifications to individual users and send it only to admin?
Yeah, so with that, if you wanted to have an admin to do that, you can, but you have to do it through the message log. So I have customers that log in the message log and then they release it on behalf of end users because they feel like they want to have a bit more control. Can be done.
Yeah, because we have actually had a client where said we don't want the users to actually release the emails. We basically want to make sure that they're being released by somebody that knows what's being released. So, yeah.
It's quite common, actually. Before working for Barracuda, I worked for a company like Sterling IT, and one of my customers did exactly that. There was like a super user, and they just went through and released those emails. Yeah.
Cool. Got another message, a couple of messages now coming up, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of how long the data is stored. In terms of the email protection products, say your cloud backup and your archiver, it's unlimited storage. So we've got no size or item counts, and then so there's no time frame on that. The data is stored here in Australia as well, which is great for data compliance reasons. It just sort of just removes that issue. And they're going to be in Microsoft or AWS, and those are all they've got their certifications in terms of data sovereignty. So yeah, that's a good question there. Thank you.
John's just about.
Yeah, I see he's typing there.
The other thing too is if anybody needs a demonstration on the side of the product suite, because it's more than just anti-spam. There's obviously the backup, there's the archival, there's the training. There's a few components of the Barracuda suite, and there's different levels. Just let us know, send an email through to sales. I'll most probably get in touch with everybody after this anyway, and if you've got any questions, we can do demonstrations one-on-one if need be. That's no issues.
So to answer John's question, 100% we can do that. Inside that machine learning mailbox defense, we're able to detect suspicious inbox rules that have been set up to misdirect mail messages outside of the organization. So what a bad actor will do is spend some time doing some reconnaissance inside the mailbox. But before the incident actually happens, we've already got the alert, say 30 days before they've even tried to exfiltrate money out of the organization. Because we've got that alert, we can detect it and mitigate the risk there if someone's account has been compromised, for sure. 100% we can do that.
I'll actually ask a question as well, which we're struggling with one customer. They're a transport client. They're the only client that we're struggling with at the moment with the Barracuda. They deal with a lot of small business, and their emails are, how could I say, coming from small mum and dad type of businesses. And obviously they're coming from Gmail accounts, Hotmail accounts, etc. And what they're finding is they're very time critical emails. Mm-hmm. What their internal IT person has done is whitelisted Gmail and Hotmail, which we've said to him, you can't do that because you might as well just turn off your anti-spam. Exactly. And you're basically saying trust everything. So one thing I've said to him was you could obviously whitelist the actual email addresses, but the problem is these could be a new client. What would you suggest is the best way to try and mitigate or reduce that based on being public domain names such as Gmail, Hotmail?
Yeah, so good question for sure. Yeah, whitelisting a service like Gmail is a real no-no. The fortunate thing with Sentinel, or what's called now impersonation protection, is that we're looking and using machine learning on their sending and receiving habits to understand if there's an anomaly. So we're not really basing it on static rules. So if there's a email provider out there that's using static rules, things have really sort of gone the next level with like machine learning and AI algorithms to understand this, and they are adaptive. So when you go to set this thing up, it's connect and it's done. It's nice and easy to deploy, and you would know that yourself, Mark. In the case of, say, it's getting triggered by, say, Cinder or SPF An SPF record is a record on the internet that tells you or tells everyone on the internet all the servers that I can send from. So if I'm at Barracuda, I can send from Microsoft, I can send from Salesforce, for instance, but everything else outside of that, I can't send from. What IT administrators can do is they collect that SPF record, and that can cause some issues because there might be another service like MailChimp that's been spun up. That's when you should go to Mark and get your MailChimp set up correctly. So anything IT related, even when it comes to emails, speak to Mark, because he has the tools to update that record to then ensure that all the emails are getting through correctly. So if I'm outside of that scope, then there would be an email blocked. So I would say if you did need to whitelist, you would whitelist only on the alias. That's the only thing you would do. You wouldn't whitelist Hotmail, Gmail. But then the fallback to that is, and it's not absolutely foolproof, is the machine learning side of it as well. You just want to give yourself the best protection and always bring it down to the lowest common denominator. So you're not going to give full access. You're going to give it to one particular email.
And we explain that it's not going to stop everything, and it's not going to allow everything. It's a learning process. And one thing we try to explain to our client base is, if I was to go and generate or hack a trusted domain and then send out to 10 million emails, the first million might go through still. But then the machines, through machine learning, will go, well, hang on a sec, this looks like spam. It's phishing emails, and then it'll start blocking. And what we say to clients is, sometimes we can be on Barracuda, they could be on Barracuda. They get the email, they forward it to us, and it gets blocked. And then they'll say, why didn't it get blocked to us? And I'll go, because by the time you got it and by the time we got it, the machine learning has come in and determined that this is actually spam. Right. So yeah,
you've got that trade-off of business continuity to protection. It comes down to that analysis, like in the malware chart, like detection, and then creating a hash or creating a signature, and therefore then blocking it. And that's why we, with our 200,000 customers around the world, we have that. We've got a plugin that people can send suspicious emails to, and then that will then learn through the system. And so our analysts will look at it, and so therefore, say 15 minutes after the event, we can give you a post-delivery incident, and then go through and give you the power to clean up those mail messages. Yeah, so it's where there's a will, there's a way. If there's a small chink in the armor, attackers will go for it. Beautiful.
That's great. Anybody else got any questions? You can take yourself off mute if you'd like to talk rather than type. John, if you want to talk, you just take yourself off mute. Shy.
Yeah. I remember being at high school or primary school, and asked me to debate or to do some public speaking in front of the class, and I did not want to do that. So I feel you.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
Good on you.
Not happening.
So how do we sign up?
So Earl's on the call. Earl, if you want to be able to assist with that, I mean, we've got some details there, and also Mark's details. So maybe we can all be put in.
We can have a chat after, if you like,
Mark,
John.
Yes. Hi everyone. I'm Earl. I'm one of the account execs here at Barracuda. We work closely with Mark. So any questions around commercials and stuff like that, just reach out to Mark, and I'll work with him.
Awesome. Thank you.
Beautiful. Great.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we might finish it up so everybody can get back to coffee or work or the beach, wherever they are. So, but we really appreciate your time. Thank you very, very much for attending. We do hope that you did get something out of this session. And if you've got any questions, please reach out to us at Sterling. Otherwise, I'll touch base with you either via email or via phone over the next day or two.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. It's a sunny one.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
See ya.
Thank you.